tells us that the time is now to see the invisible war being waged with surveillance, central bank digital currency, digital passports, and the global control grid. Can humanity awaken in time to stomp the new slavery system that's being installed? Let's go ask former Assistant HUD Secretary Captain Austin Fitts. The kind of things that you're doing are more in demand now than ever, I would say. Do you feel that you're more in demand now than ever?
I feel that what I'm saying is now, I've always tended to, you can tell by looking at the wrap-ups, I'm always focusing on the basics. And the basic primary trends that are inescapable, unavoidable, we have to deal with them. They're at the heart of the matter.
Right.
And that's not always the most interesting or entertaining stuff. However, now it's getting much more interesting because, when you can't afford the food, energy, and shelter you need, the fact that 21 trillion is disappearing becomes more interesting.
Yes,
right.
Absolutely.
So, right.
It's almost like the wave of the information was ahead of its time. Now the time catches up.
Well, it wasn't ahead of its time for financial people. Just remember, financial people need to know where the ship is going. So anybody who's had a business where they needed to know the real risk, the long-term risk, the long-term primary trends, they're fine. That's what they're focused on. But,
But they have blind spots.
We all have blind spots. We all have. I mean, here's the big blind spot, and if you go to most programs that deal with current events, you're going to listen to a group of people talking about the world, starting with Minnie and Mickey. So you ask, what is the United States doing about that? And they start out with what Minnie and Mickey have said and what Minnie and Mickey are doing. And that's a very exhaustive way to begin a representation of reality, because Minnie and Mickey are just a contrived invention. They're just the show upstairs. Right. So,
yeah. And a lot of that coming up with the midterms and all the rest, there's so much of this, and this is what you have to sift through when you're trying to look for anything real. But it's a much bigger
look at the content you're discussing on Dark Journalist. Okay?
Yes.
How does it relate to what's in the news? That's Minnie and Mickey, right?
It's like two different worlds.
It's two different worlds, right? It's like two different worlds. And the reality is, when they build the underground bases, that makes the mining stocks go up. Right?
Yes,
right.
Exactly.
So I want to integrate both worlds. Anyway, so
I like it. Yes, 100%. I wrote down, after going through the reports and after going through some of the things that you were prioritizing and thinking about talking about, I wrote down the phrase, "Where are we now?"
We're up the creek without a paddle.
Really?
That's where we are. Yeah, that's where we are.
Tell me why.
Because you have an establishment, and I'm just speaking for the United States now, which has engineered from 1998 on a coup d'etat. And to finance that coup d'etat, they've stuffed our pension funds and retirements with IOUs from the government, from which the money is all disappearing.
Right.
So the liabilities are there, the assets have been disappeared. Not all of them, but much of them. And the IOUs the taxpayers as retirees have a pension fund full of IOUs for themselves. Right?
Yes.
Right. And so now the question is, now that everybody wants to retire, remember when I told you they took the money for space instead of parenting homes, right? So now that everybody wants to retire, an issue is coming up. And of course, we saw with the going direct reset massive inflation, monetary inflation, and now it's showing up at the pump, it's showing up at the grocery store. Now, what's showing up at the grocery store is a lot of disaster capitalism too, as you know.
Yes.
So, right.
The New York Times came out with a story today, highest inflation in 40 years, 8.3 and rising. Not even trying to couch the language. So that is the nature of that reality on the ground you're talking about. That's been building in the background. You've been telling people this thing is happening. And then now...
Well, if you look at the Chapwood Index, the real cost of goods have been rising at 8 to 14% for the last 10 years. Right. So...
It's already happening.
Yeah.
And yet seeing it and responding to it when it's public is kind of a different thing.
No, because when it's in the New York Times, I look at it and think, well, maybe it's not really a percent,
But when I look at that, what I'm starting to see is it's almost like I feel like this administration was built for the deconstruction. They want the economic collapse on the front. And this is an interesting thing because with your work and the things that you've done over the years, you've never been the economy's going to collapse, all these types of things. You've talked about them slow burning it out.
Well, the economy's not collapsed. Okay, you have a portion of the economy which is being liquidated and sucked over to a different part of the economy, and then you have another part of the economy that's growing. Okay, so our first quarter wrap up we did on SPACs.
Right.
In 3 years, a couple $100 billion poured into SPACs. It was boom town, right? Now, a million small businesses got shut down. But that's a reallocation of capital. You shut down a million businesses using COVID, and then you print money and pour it into, the financing of electric car companies, space companies, tech companies, biotech companies. That's a reallocation. So we're watching reallocation. Part of the challenge with the reallocation is that you have a wide group of people who can no longer be productive under those circumstances. So in the last quarter, productivity fell 7.57%. No society can, this is not an economic problem, Daniel. This is when a society, when the rule of law breaks down, nothing can work. And you can print all the money and inject all the steroids you want. But if you're poisoning the population and destroying their productivity, nothing's going to work. But it's intentional.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. Here's the thing to understand about the people who lead America. If, they kind of set plans and goals, and then they try stuff, and sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, but they evolve it. So they want to go in a certain direction, and they start and they evolve, and it's trial and error, and it's very organic, but they go there. And if suddenly the system veers and goes in a place they don't want to go, they then fix it and turn it back. So the thing to understand about where the system's going, if it's going there, and for 20 years they say, oh, we don't want to go there, but it's complicated and it's a mistake. It's not a mistake.
Right.
It's going where they want it to go. I mean, sit back and imagine, look at the whole world and realize everything is perfect. It's completely optimized. I mean, that's a gross oversimplification, but do you know what I mean? It's working. That's what you have to understand. It's working. And a decision has been made to basically take the economy and centralize control using AI and software and a variety of different technologies. And it's like a high-tech Bolshevik revolution.
Right. Yes. And since you mentioned the Bolsheviks, Ukraine or part of this. It seems like
So did you get that? High-tech Bolshevik.
I'd love to know where that $40 billion is going.
Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, and welcome to Dreamy Dreamland with Sensei Al Bob. I am your sensei. That was Catherine Austin Fitz on Dark Journalist Channel. just listening to Catherine Austin. It's very tuned in lady. Yeah, well, she's been there. She was the assistant secretary of HUD during the Reagan administration when the damage that Bill Clinton had done was being um, you know, weaponized in the banks. Right? So, and as she said, I mean, we're not living in a democracy. We're not living in a capitalist society. Because if we were, we would have competition. But we don't. We really haven't had competition since the Civil War, because that's what the Civil War was about. It wasn't about slavery. I mean, it was about slavery, but not black people. It was about all of us being slaves. And we were like cattle, and so we have been domesticated to, instead of eating feed corn, we're addicted to convenience and belief. Everyone around me had these beliefs. I just went to a farmer's market. Some of the most farmers / conservative / kind of people, and so I went around and talked to him. I was going to get a table there and do readings, see if I could make any money, because I am really at the short hairs of it. Please, send something on the PayPal. Dudaway42@gmail. Come on. And let's see. The artist. Again, to talk about John is an irrelevancy to this channel at this moment. I mean, John is exactly where he was when I met him 17 years ago. Hasn't changed a bit, hasn't grown, hasn't learned, hasn't done anything. Go watch his channel. You want to know what John's up to? Go watch John's channel. Now, within, and he's my friend. I care about him, but I can't do anything about him. I tried for a good 7 years, and and most people would have, gotten just the first time, they were thrown under the bus. They would have nothing to do with him. But I understood that he was going to do that, so I could read his body language, and so when he was about to do it, I was semi-prepared, right? But it's never fun. But by doing that, I was injected into other events that were way more fun than listening to John go through his laundry list over and 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 over. Right? So last time I was with John was from 2 days after, around the 6th of January. The 6th of January, in DC. We just had that, soap opera of a congressional hearing. Come on. I mean, all they're doing is laying the tracks to distract you, audience, from what's really happening. What's really happening is, as Catherine Austin Fitts just put out, is that, there is a Bolshevik revolution occurring, a digital one, right? And every kind of revolution of that matter is manifested by the ruling class, the unipolar corporate fascist state, and that's been going on since Samaria. And so all of this stuff we see in the news, all the gun shootings and all of that. Other countries have more guns per capita than we do. And why are people, I would say that the majority of the people who are doing the shooting are Manchurian candidates. They have been taken, they have been pruned, They have been, you go to a public school, you are in front of a teacher. Teachers knows, been trained to see what the student is. And so, on your, your record, they put down exactly what you are. So, oh look, this guy, or this girl, mostly guys, mostly loner guys, totally scared of everything. So they need a big car, a big truck, a big this, a big that to make up for the smallness that they feel on the inside. you know, um, um, so here we are, and the time is ticking down. And yesterday I was talking about Looking Glass, right? And who were to go Google Looking Glass, a lot of things will come up. A lot of people who have been looking at this, and I keep telling people the reason why we went into Iraq in '91 was that the Germans and the French had found some very interesting archaeological things, and they were really not wanting to share with us, and so we sent our army in. So you see where the army went. Did it go up against Saddam? No. Did it go into Kuwait? No. It went way out in the middle of the desert, right? And surrounded the French and the Germans and forced them to give that hardware up. The only place that our army really went to was in Baghdad. We surrounded the Museum of Antiquities, and we took all the stuff. We took all the keys. We took all of the manuals that were in the museums of these artifacts. Meaning, people had, when they dug these things up, they had no idea what they were because they weren't coming from that world view. And so, but we took the technology and we went to the museum and we took everything out of the museum. So that's what that was about, right? And the reason why in '03 we went into Iraq, there was no reason. There are people saying, "Hey, these guys," because we took, in '91 we took all of their hardware away. We left them with tanks and machine guns and helicopters that could, basically affect violence on their own people and their neighbors, but not us or our real allies, like Israel. So, that we had no reason to go into Iraq except Saddam was going to blow the whistle. So we wanted to take him out so he wouldn't blow the whistle. And, why is oil at $5 a gallon? Well, back, during the oil embargo, gasoline went from 16 cents to $2.75. That's like, if that happened today at that price, we'd be paying $12 a gallon, right? We're still paying less than what people were paying in 2023. Right? And you have to realize, we're having inflation. Well, we've had inflation the whole time because the central bank is just printing money on paper without any value to it. When Nixon went off the gold standard, you know what he put in his place? Us, the people, our productivity. That's why people are working 60, 70 hours a day just to buy a cheeseburger at McDonald's. I mean, if you want to see where we are and where we're heading, go look at Germany, the Weimar Republic in 1928. Go watch the movie Cabaret. It's just not Liza Minnelli doing high kicks and singing. The Cabaret was the place where the German people went to do drugs, have sex, and escape their misery. Why do you think we are still having a tremendous opioid crisis? Because people are escaping their misery. They'd rather OD on fentanyl. So I've got my little piece of jewelry plugged in. Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? Am I coming over Anyway, and John, it's not too bad because John is in his own private little island. And again, why I keep in touch with John is my friend. Right? He needs someone to talk to who will listen to him and give him honest feedback, even though he doesn't want to hear it, hang up and curse me out. He sent me the longest, mess. It was unbelievable. It was like 20 pages of email about how terrible I was, how selfish I was. And when, Lacan said, whenever anyone accuses you of something, you're only talking about yourself, right? So John, to me, he's my friend. He has no real friends, so I'm not giving up on him. But I'm not putting myself in harm's way, And the other thing about John is that he is the canary in the coal mine. You want to see what's going on to the psyche of the American public? Look at John Birmingham. He is the psyche. His neuroses, his it's all about him. Me, it's not all about me. I try to make myself as in the background as I can, but come on. It's hard for the dude to be in the background, but I do my best, right? And I only get involved. I have 3 rules: doctor, do no harm. Do not get involved unless you have a workable exit strategy to get the innocents out of harm's way. And third one is do not get involved unless you're going to learn something. So those are how I roll, And so, so that one person who's there, can you tell me? Can you hear me? Am I talking to no one through this little thing, or is it actually working? That's often I kind of pick up the laptop and put my finger on the mic. If I knew where the mic was, I wouldn't do that, but I have no idea. So I found this little gizmo and I'm doing this. So, if you think things are weird now, no. So get ready for nuclear war. Yep. Okay. Yep. Okay. So we're going to have nuclear war relatively soon, right? And the Ukraine was the excuse. People said, "Oh, this is going to be over in 2 days." Blah blah blah. It's going to be like Crimea. Not really. And so, and we're just feeding more and more weapons in there. We have given the Ukraine $250 billion of weapons and close to $5 billion a month in cash and food and support of the people. So just think, when other people, when people are trying to escape Syria and Libya and Iraq and all of the Mideast, how did Europe respond to them? Not very well. So they're part of the equation of this new world order. I mean, all the countries, every country, no matter whether they're having elections or what have you, and Trudeau of Canada is a great example. He is the most visible poster boy of the unipolar, oligarchy, and because the Canadians are the most polite, the guys who were in the trucks, they were so polite. All the police said that. I mean, they didn't block anything except the politicians. They made life uncomfortable for the politicians. But everybody else, they didn't get in the way of the police or the fire trucks or the ambulances or other trucks delivering food to the supermarket. They did not do any of the above. Kind of what, you look at what the South Korean truck drivers are doing. I mean, they're really smart. They're not doing massive blockades. They're just blockading things that will affect the supply chain, right? And they already are. large corporations in China are like having to slow down their manufacturing because they don't have the parts. And South Korea, this was a brilliant idea of ours. We have stuck 90% of the world's manufacturing of super sophisticated silicon chips in South Korea. Just on the other side, of the border in North Korea, there's like 500,000 howitzers pointed at South Korea, and like within 20 minutes, without nuclear weapons, the North Koreans could obliterate South Korea. Ergo, take out 90% of all the sophisticated semiconductors in the world. You think these things are done by mistake, but just, I wasn't thinking about it. No, these are all orchestrated, right? Bias is coming down the pike now. After '08, nothing got fixed. Our economy was as ravaged and broken after '08 as it was before '08, right? And it just pretty much got worse. But the stock market went through the roof, and everyone was hunky dory. We're in the money. And yesterday the stock market dropped 900 points. Right? Now it's been doing this for the last 3 months. Oh, it's because you created war. No, it's because people are making money. Pump and dump. You pump it up, dump it down, pump it up. So you buy down here, you pump it up, you got it here, you sell at the top for anybody else, and then it crashes, and you buy it low again, and so they're doing that. They've been doing that the last 3 months, and I've been saying this for the last 2 years about the big splat. And I basically said that there's going to be a war that will have an effect. We had a war in Iraq and in Afghanistan and all the Mideast for 20 years. And it didn't seem to, George W. put all those wars on a credit card. And now we're paying for it. Each American household is paying $30,000 a year interest on the wars that we've been fighting for the last 70 years, right? Because we've been at war since World War II. So, what can you do, right? First off, you have to realize that the game is the globalists have already lost, and it's no QAnon blah blah blah. No. It is more of a higher motif of love for creation. There is a rule about creation that you can't create anything without love. And so all of this has been created without love. So, it is falling apart. So, back in 1999, Prince had the song, party like it's 1999. Well, 2000 came, and the internet, everything silicon was supposed to, all the computers supposed to crash. They did, but that was in a slider. Have you ever experienced deja vu? Right, and that's what's going on all the time. Meaning there are so many parallel universes. Right, so we're in this parallel universe, but in the end of it, it's all of those parallel universes will come to a synchronicity where everything will come together, and basically everyone will realize what's going on. And the nuclear war that's coming relatively soon will come because that synchronicity is getting closer and closer. And the general public is starting to realize that they're being hacked. And the Ukrainians, they're going to come to an understanding that they're just being used, right? And so are the Russian people. Because Ukrainian Russian people are almost the same people. Their history is so, the one thing. So anyway, the nuclear war is going to occur basically, meaning Americans will nuke Americans, Russians will nuke Russians, Europeans will nuke Europeans, Chinese will nuke Chinese, right? Because those are their biggest, that is the real threat of their power, and so as soon as we realize, as soon as the public sees what their governments are doing, realizing that they're lying, cheating, and stealing, and it doesn't matter who you vote for, one sock puppet or the other, it's they will have no other reason but to take out their own people, reduce the population, force them into a forced labor camp. And if you read Mein Kampf, that's what those two books are about. It's about to destroy whatever fabric your culture has. So who's ever left will there'll be those at the top of the pyramid and everybody else. Everybody else will go along because if they don't, they'll be dead. But the synchronicity is coming along to give everyone the realization that whether they're alive, that death is no big deal, and and yet life is a great lesson, right? And that if you do not live your life to the fullest, and that doesn't mean be a real successful, A-lister, movie star, everyone knows about you, right? I'm doing, what I'm supposed to be doing, and I'm not worrying about that only like 3 people watch a show, because I'm pumping this out shamanically into the World Wide Web. It's going into every server, every silicon chip. It is in every day and every way taking the piece of the earth and making it stronger. Right? You don't have to be an A-lister to do this, right? You just have to have your heart in the right place. You have to have your conscious intent focused on doing your best in service to love co-creation. Right? Well, our world ain't doing that. And these guys who had been working on, again, go Google Looking Glass, right?
You never know what you
You will see this,
Yeah, hey, Scott.
I'm glad you're back.
I was gonna say Scott's neighbor, their neighbor.
So,
They get along good.
it'd be nice if somebody put something in my PayPal. It would just make things a little more convenient. But today, I spent a good portion of the morning going through all the pillows, and I got enough coin to afford to get some pad thai here, and put about $3 worth of gas in my vehicle. But anyway, that's my little report for today. Anyone have anything to say? I appreciate thank you for your service. I appreciate that. So, and I feel all the cadre, and I know all the cadre is doing the best they can do. They feel, I know a lot of you have jobs, and when you have, I have very, very little, right? To get any kind of when I died and I needed severe medical assistance, the only way I was going to get it was be super duper poor, because I wasn't rich, but I was comfortable middle class, and they sucked that dry like in a flash of a second and gave me nothing. Right? So it was very interesting. In America, the people who have the closest thing to relatively good health care are really, really poor people, because the only people who are involved in healthcare for those guys are guys who really care, right? Because otherwise they'd be doing something they'd make more money at. And if you are an aware person, a knowledgeable person, and you go into that poverty-stricken healthcare system, and you assist them by telling them exactly what they need to know, and say, instead of giving me all these tests, give me this test, and this test. And then they do, and then they realize, wow, this guy knows what he's talking about. He's like a doctor. So he's a good partner to, actually I'm feeling good taking care of him because he's actually getting better. Look, he's lost 200 pounds. Look, all of the things that he died from that are still in his body, the damaged organs, they're actually doing pretty good. I'm about to get my cataracts taken out. But as I get close to the operating day, you know, it's getting better, or at least subjectively, objectively. So I'm all signed up. I'm going to do it. I have a really good doctor. The procedure now it used to take hours. Now it takes 15 minutes. Right? And I asked my doctor, so how long have you been doing this? 18 years. How many of these do you do a week? 20. How many people how many operations have screwed up? About 150. And then they said, but, we just had to redo it. It wasn't like they were blind. So no one's gone blind out of all those thousands. So, those are good odds for me. And I'm all signed up, and the only thing is how to get there from my front door to their front door is about 50 miles. If they're going to make me blind for a couple of days, I can't drive. I can drive there, but driving, and everyone's so busy. Can you drive me there? Oh, I'd love to, Al, but how about the fact that I wired your whole house and fixed your grandma's sewing machine? And well, that was nice of you, but no, I can't help you out. So they're all ready to hang out with their buddies with their ARs and shoot at little dummies of children. It's interesting time, but realize that no matter what goes down, at the end of the day, it's all going to work out. There is really nothing to worry about. Now, the itinerant scholar that I am, just taking notes. This is more fodder for my novels. And if you want to read any of my writings, you go to thedudewake42 at Gmail. Start a nice little conversation with me, and I'll email you some of that stuff, right? But I could truly use you guys put something into my PayPal. You may ask, who should we send it to? And the answer is thedudewake42 at Gmail. Dudewake42 at Gmail. So, don't worry, be happy. Yeah, kind of. Yes, that was a good song. But the real story is, don't worry, be happy through active service to love's co-creation, to have a morphic behavior. Like when they wrote the Constitution, it's like, everyone's, has the right to life, liberty, and pursuit. What they first wrote was economic security. And all the rich guys said, whoa. No. Take that one out. Let's find something, oh yes, here it is, pursuit of don't worry, be happy. So no, I mean that in essence is a good idea. Don't worry, be happy. Because worrying has no upside, not even a good habit or a good hobby. It's a useless thing. Right? Are you hungry right now? No. So, I just had this nice pad thai. No, I'm not hungry. Am I being rained on? No, there's a roof over my head at this minute. Right? I got clothes on. I have a quarter, almost a half a tank of gasoline. And I'm going to go, and it's sunny outside, and I'm going to go back to the deep green and putter around. Water my garden, and talk to the plants, and clean things up, and maybe do some laundry because it's sunny. So anyway, that's the story. I just wanted to reach out to you because I could. I came here because this lady makes the best pad thai out in the middle of nowhere, and they have nice Wi-Fi. So I read the oldest daughter's palm, and she's so she has things with her. I've known these people forever, and they always forget me. How can you forget Sensei Alma? But they always do. And So I came back and I said, and I was saying things to the old lady, and she goes, "How do you know this?" I said, "Well, you used to tell me all this stuff about 10 years ago. When I, would come in here with my friend, and she even forgot. My friend was like her second son, and she forgot him too. But that's okay. And she's like, understandably, she's forgetting it because she's kind of slipping away. So when I first met her, she was like vivacious. She almost looked young. Now she looks a zillion years old, and her little daughter, who is this little thing running around, she's now running the show. And so I read the daughter's poem, and hey, I knew the story 10 years ago, 15 years ago. So I was telling her things about, back then. And she was, "How do you know all this?" I said, "Oh, I can just see it." Okay, with this device. This is my version of Looking Glass. So go do that. Go to Google and say, well, let's see what Google has to say. Let's see. Looking Glass. Looking Glass. Operation Looking Glass. Looking Glass.
According to Wikipedia, Looking Glass is an American pop rock group of the early 1970s that was part of the Jersey Shore sound.
They don't seem to want to go there. Black Project, Operation Looking Glass. Code name for an airborne command control. No, Project Looking Glass. Operation. Okay. So, see, they just want to talk about the doomsday aircraft. Right? They're not talking about the technology found out in the middle of Iraq in '91. So anyway, well, there's no one here. This one comes up. I'll catch you guys. So the only people who are really listening is the omnipresent world power. So listen, guys, I'm not against you. Everybody, you name it, are against you. I'm not against you, because I know what, Looking Glass said. It'll all work out. And that means you have to be part of this. So I think you need to come visit your Uncle Al Bob, Sensei Al Bob, and sit around the fire and, hire me to assist you to, there's the Divine Fish stopping by to say hi. Yeah, Fish, every time I try to call you from the deep green, I don't have a barb. So next time I do, you're the first girl I'm going to ring a ding ding. So my assessment of the, our oil or gasoline situation isn't that we don't have gasoline. Look, America's the largest producer of oil. Come on. Love the headgear. Yeah. This is my own version of Looking Glass. The super secret, high tech time machine. See into the past and the future. That's what this device is. It's also enabling me to read what you write, and I'm soon to have my my cataracts fixed end of the month. So anyway, I just was saying hi. And I'll talk to you later. Right? So again, anybody wants to throw something in my PayPal, I could really, really use it. Remember, the dude awake 42 at Gmail. That's my email. The dude awake 42 at Gmail. Right? It's okay. I'll catch you guys later. And you omni-polar power hungry entity, you want to, stay in the game, get a hold of me. Come, give me a nice stipend. Take me to a nice, I'm Aquarian. I like it. I can live anywhere. So living out in the deep green, not bad. Beautiful, really nice. But it's not the most convenient. But that's what enabled me to lose 200 pounds. I still wouldn't mind living in, 5-star hotels and all the above. And my real pleasure of working for you would be to assist you. There's nothing wrong with you, omnipresent, power-hungry, reptile, fascist state. There isn't. All of this violence and catastrophe that you instigate, it doesn't have to be. It doesn't matter. You can be in power. That's all you're really interested in. I mean, money is irrelevant to you. It doesn't exist. So come on, step up, be good. Come and give your uncle Sensei Al Bob employment again. I mean, it's not the end of the world for me to sit out in the most beautiful place, read ancient books and write interesting novels that someday someone will publish and go, wow, listen to this guy back then. And you are allowing me to, I have to thank you for allowing me to continue to do this YouTube thing. And I know that I'm pumping unconditional love out into the internet. And by me knowing that you know that I'm doing this, makes me realize that you realize that me doing it helps you out. I could help you out a lot more if we work. I mean, we are working together, but why don't you put something in my PayPal? Come on, you control everything financial, so come on. So I am happy to be here. I have nothing but gratitude for the life I have, and that's why I'm here to serve. So, you stay well, be good. Catch you on the other side of the screen. And whoever goes and watches this, I hope you enjoy it. Okay?
Pick you up here, picture venue there, just let us know.